Hello. My name is Omar, and in this video, I want to give a quick introduction about appending lists to your Pandas data frame. This kind of situation might come up often. You're generating new information and you just want to add it to your data frame. So you might have come across some problems where it's like appending in like the weird corner and it's not really adding to the right indices, rows, or columns. It's just like doing something weird or it's giving you some sort of value error. So I'm just going to break down some simple ways of doing this task that will hopefully allow you to not have any headaches. No guarantees, but it worked for me. All right, so to start with, we're going to import pandas. Everything we're going to be doing today is going to be only in pandas. Okay, and then let us create some data just from a simple dictionary. Okay, I've already pre-typed this, so I'm going to print it out. And it's just a collection that includes some names of some people, their ages, their locations, and the language that they use. Okay, and we're just going to turn this into a data frame called df equals pandas.dataframe, and then the data we're going to use is d. All right, so let's see what we're looking at here. Okay, so we can see that without any problems or controversy, it turned it into what we were expecting, right? We have the column names, the location that are based on the keys for a dictionary, and so on and so forth. Let's also look, hopefully it did what we wanted to do as far as the data types. So we want these to be strings, and this age one to be some sort of numeric. Let's see if it did that. All right, cool. So we got, there's no null entries, all objects and ints, and so far so good. I'm happy with that. Okay, now let's create the lists that we're going to want to add to our data frame. I'm just going to copy and paste because it's you don't really want to see me typing this, right? It's kind of boring. Pretty much I have a number list here which has a length of 4 and a list of numbers which has a length of 7. Right now our data frame has 4 columns, right? And it also has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. However, what you're going to see I'm going to do, I'm going to add 2 rows to the bottom of this, which is going to make it 7 rows. So that's why I chose a 7 and 7 here. But anyway, you'll see that in a little bit. So here's like the most simplest way that you can do this. We don't have to use .append or .merge or .join or .concat or anything. You simply are going to name the new row. This is for rows, right? Add on a new row to the bottom of the data frame. So you're just going to be grabbing the last row of the data frame. So the way you do that is using loc. Loc. So what we'd want to say here is 5, right? And let's just see what happens. Okay, it gives a key error. Why does it give a key error? Because 5 is not in the index. It doesn't go up to 5. But herein lies the rub, right? Because we want to tell it what 5 is going to be. So 5 equals, and then we're going to give it our num list 4. All right, and let's see what happens here. Okay, let's go down here and let's look at df again. I'll see. Look at that. So we told it what we want 5 to be. And then we passed in our num list 4, which is this, and it worked fine. Keep in mind that if this was not if it didn't match up perfectly, you would have a problem. So you would get a value error. It must have equal length keys and value. It wouldn't fit, right? It would be trying to fit 7 entries into 4 columns, and it doesn't know how to do that, or it can't do that, right? Now, obviously, there's a more programmatic and better way of doing this, and that is by calling the length len of df. Okay, so let's reset our df again, right, and try this again. So this is saying what len of df is. Let's just actually run what len of df is. len of df is 5, right? That's how long it is. So we're gonna pass however long it is, which is gonna give us what would be the next index, right? Because we're starting at a 0 index, of course. So we're gonna pass that, and then we're gonna tell it what to put. Okay. And again, we run this, and we'll see that we're good. If we want to do, then we can run the very same command again right here. You say df dot loc of len df equals, for example, our string list. Okay, and then we want to look at df. And what have we got? So it did it. It automatically knew that after we had appended this, the length of df was 6. Len of dx was 6. So it said at the 6th index, at index called 6, which doesn't exist yet, we want to turn it into this list right here. Okay, now here's another question. What if we want to do an analogous operation and just tack a column onto the end? How can we do that? Well, luckily, this is actually, it's even simpler, right? Because when you call a data frame, you can call it directly by its column name, and I'll show you how to do this. So df of, let's call this fav number. Obviously, it doesn't exist right now, right? It doesn't exist. Doesn't know what fav number is. So, but we're going to tell it what to make it, and we're going to say num list 7. All right, and let's see if that worked. Look at that. So it created a new column, and it called it num list, or fav num, and then we just populated it with our list. And of course, we had to know that it was 7. If it was not 7, then it would not fly, right? Let's do another one. Fav color equals string list 7. All right, cool. So here we have fav number, fav color, and everything is working as it should. Of course, one thing that did not work as it should, or that is totally messed up now, is our data types. So if we go to that info, everything is going to be an object other than this, right? We mixed this right here, screwed it up. We mixed strings and numbers. If you're going to be wanting to maintain your data types, then a little bit more thought should go into, like, if you have a list with dollar amounts and that includes a dollar sign, maybe you should think about turning that into a list of numbers, of just dollar amounts, if you want to keep it an int. And to do that, you can check out my last video, which I will post the link to. The methods that I've shown you work well enough, but they are crude and could result in some problems if you have more complex data sets or data structures to work with. So for example, what if you're working with some data that's coming in a different order than your data frame? So how are you going to be able to do that? You might have to do a for loop and then check to see if they're matching up or whatever. So it's not easy to do it if you're just working with lists, right? So in this case, and in most other cases, that involve a little bit of more complex operations, we'll want to turn our list or our array of values, we're going to want to turn it into either a Pandas Dataframe or a Pandas series. And that way we can make use of the much more powerful operations such as append, join, concatenate, and etc. And just to drive this point home, I'll show you an example. I'm going to create a Pandas data series, right? This pretty much has all the information, right, that will come in a row from this data set, from this data frame, right? It includes location, language, name, fav color, fav name, and age, right? Everything, but they're not in the same order, right? Here's location, language, name, number, color, right? They're all in a different order. So if we just had a list like this, we'd kind of be screwed if we wanted to append it. But luckily, because it's a data series here, and we'll look at it right now. This is called jumble series, right? We'll look at it right now, and this is nice and formatted in a way that's going to be really easy to do what we want to do. And the way that we're going to do that is by using the append function. So df.append, and I'm going to do something wrong way, and then we'll see how it's going to be improved. Data jumble series, right? And it's going to give an error. Okay, so it wants us to ignore the index. So we have to set ignore index to true. Well, look at that. Our information just got added beautifully, I would say. Everything that we expected happened. This kind of automatic understanding of where things are supposed to fit is the main reason why Pandas is such a powerful data science library, because it takes away a lot of the grunt work of having to, do things manually, right? It's automatically gonna know if it matches up, if the series name matches up with the data frame column name, then it's gonna automatically know where to put that. We wouldn't have been able to do that if we had used this this technique right here, or this technique right here. I'm going to give another simple example of this, and this example is going to be in regards to the .join function in Pandas. If you've worked with SQL at all, it's very similar to the SQL command as far as joining two tables of values based on a common column that they share in common. I'm going to create another piece of data, right, based off a dictionary, which I'm going to call food. And all we know is the individual's name and their favorite food. And yes, Red Bull cans is my favorite food. We're going to create a Pandas series based off this. We're going to pass in our dictionary, and we're going to have to name it. We're going to give it a name. Well, to show you why we need a name, I'm going to first put it in without a name. Okay, so let's look at our food series and see if it's cool, right? Once again, it's matching up pretty well. All right, now let's try to join this. So take note, in this case, we're trying to tack on a column onto our data frame. But also keep in mind that we don't have all the rows here. We just have Alice, Bob, Carl, Daisy, Elon, and Omar. But here, there's in this data frame, there's also 5 in green. Do not match up with anything in our series, right? So again, if we were using this technique, it would have thrown an error saying that your list has to be the same size or the same dimension as your data frame. But in this case, we can rest assured that it's going to figure it out, because that's what join does. Okay, so we're going to run df.join, and we're going to pass it the food series. And a join method needs an on. It needs to know what it's joining on. So in this case, we're joining on the name, because we know the names right here, and we know that they're going to match up to some extent with the names in df. So that's why we pass this function. And let's see what happens. All right, so there's an error. So other series must have a name. Now, I don't know exactly why this error is passed. I don't know specifically why. I would guess that it's because when it tacks on that column, it wants to know what to call it. I could be wrong about that, but you don't really have to know. You just have to know that you have to give it a name, right? So in this pd.series function, we can see here that it gives us the option of calling it, of giving it a name, passing in a name argument. We can assume that it will be like the name of the data series. All right, so we'll run this again, right? And then we'll run this again. Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. I forgot that this thing we have to actually save our new data frame into df. Okay, now we run it again, and we run this. All right, cool. So look, so you see what it did? It took all these values, right? And it automatically assigned them to the name. Even though we didn't say anything specific about if this name is Alice, then pass curry onto this row, and if this name is Elon, pass hot dogs onto this row, right? That's what the join function does. That's why it's great. That's all for this video. Hopefully this will be enough to kind of get the ball rolling. There's a lot more capabilities of these functions than what I've shown in this video. Pretty much anything that you can think about doing to a data frame, as far as adding new data to a data frame, you can do it with one of these functions. If you have any questions or suggestions for a future video, please let me know. And for now, adios.